I want to hear your thoughts because you and I texted you.
Yeah.
I texted you, and you were in a theater watching Strange
Yeah,
World.
you're texting me while I was watching Strange World. You were interrupting my enjoyment of Strange World with your texts, and I was grateful that you were texting me often.
Well, I appreciate. First of all, you read my text while the movie was on, so that's on
Yeah,
you. That's on you. I would have told you turn off your phone.
so I could
Okay,
concentrate on the plot and story of Strange World.
so we
Yeah,
both
so
no, but wait, we both had a miserable Thanksgiving, and then we both went to see Strange World, and the mood was not fixed. It did
yeah,
not. I did not feel uplifted from seeing Strange World. But Alan, why don't you give
yeah,
us your review and give us a little bit about the story that we couldn't have
yeah.
gleaned from the trailers?
So the story basically is that there's this valley called Avalonia, and it's surrounded by these mountains that are just too tall to be able to climb them. And one of the intrepid citizens, his name is Jaeger Clade, played by Dennis Quaid. His mission in life is to see what's beyond these mountains, and his goal in life is to see that there's a bigger world out there than Avalonia. And so he takes his son, Searcher, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. They go out on an expedition, and while on that expedition, Searcher finds these plants that seem to have power in them, electrical power in it. And being the kind of the botanist explorer that he is, he's much more Searcher is much more interested in this plant than he is about exploring. It's at this point where Jaeger says, "Well, I want to find out what's beyond." He leaves the group and he disappears forever. And then Searcher takes this plant and creates a power source for his village to live in, and they create this kind of utopia world. And what happens then is this plant that provides all the power is diseased. It's dying, and if they don't find the cure to find out what's happening, they're going to be without power. And so they need to go dig down into the center of the earth and try to heal the plant. And he goes with his son, who we find out early has a boyfriend that he's a boy that he's interested in, and then he has a small crew, and they go off to go on this adventure. And of course, during this adventure, they find Jaeger. And now we have stories. We have a story of father, son, and grandson. So 3 generations of men who have a hard time relating to one another, and that's essentially what the story is. My initial thought is it's boring. It's it's there's nothing to grasp onto. And let me point out something that happens in the middle of the movie. In the middle of the movie, the Jaeger, Searcher, and their son Ethan, they're playing a board game. And during that board game, the board game is about trying to build a better society. Searcher and Jaeger want to defeat bad guys. And they get into this thing about how, not all stories need villains. Oh yeah, we need villains to tell good stories, or villains make great storytelling. And so they're mocking this idea that every story needs to have a villain, which only proves the point that this story doesn't work because it doesn't have a villain. All they're doing is going on this quest, just like Willow. They go on a quest, they try to figure out what's wrong, and they learn something about themselves. And that's the nature of this movie. The third thing that makes this movie fail is that good stories, you need to be able to connect with the story. You need to be able to feel comfortable, feel at, you need to feel like this is a real place. It's like in my improv troupe, when someone enters the stage and says, "I'm an alien," you kind of break that connection with the audience. They don't know what aliens are. And so they go to this strange world. We know nothing about this strange world. All we know is it looks weird. It does weird things, and there's weird creatures. But there's nothing about this world that makes me want to say, it's not Pandora by any means. Nothing about this world that makes me want to explore it more. There's this threat, but the problem is these threats, they're all, cute animals with curved shapes when they need to be sharp and pointed to feel a threat. And that, yeah, they're dangerous creatures, but we never see these creatures. We never see the danger. we never see a creature grab someone and devour them or tear them apart, you know. So there's no so so all this does is it makes a very boring, bland story about something as high stakes as fathers and sons. And that's ultimately why this movie fails. I think it's ultimately why this movie is not being promoted by Disney. Because I told my wife I was going to see this movie and she didn't even know it was out. And I think Disney has given up on this, and rightfully so. They knew they at least recognized the fact that they had a clunker here.
Well, let's continue. I need to let you know a couple of my thoughts on this. This is one of the worst things that Disney has ever produced as a studio. Uh, I think I think maybe it sounded good as a pitch,
Mhm.
but the script and the story for this feels like if you follow the teachers that you encounter on libs of TikTok, you know, those sort of self-righteous teachers that want to create safe spaces for their students and are all proud of that, and they all have like
Mhm.
pink or blue hair and piercings in various places and whatnot, and that's you know, that's fine. I'm just saying, when you see those kinds of teachers and the you know, very very liberal ideas that they want to push on kids, it's like a teacher that was featured on libs of TikTok wrote the script for Strange World. It you know, everything about it, where it takes shots at toxic masculinity, it takes shots at movies that feature a villain. It includes, I mean, from the opening, when we finally get, you know, when what the character played by Jake Gyllenhaal, his
Searcher.
character Searcher Clade, when they get to like him and his farm, right? It's like you meet their dog and their dog is missing. It's missing an arm. So it's a disabled dog. You have the mixed race couple. Searcher Clade is married to Meridian Clade. They're, you know, he's white, she's black. They have a mixed race son, Ethan Clade. Then they go into town and there's immediately, you see a character in a wheelchair. This is all of this happens like after this initial adventure with Jaeger Clade. They go to the farm and all of this stuff happens. They might as well have just put rainbows and things. Then you see Ethan Clade talking about the boy. He's all shy and they meet him and he has like frosted hair. He also is wearing like this colorful sweatshirt that I don't know which flag's colors it is, but I'm sure it's a certain flag's colors. And he's just all nervous about the boy he likes. It's like I say, it's like a libs of TikTok teacher wrote the story. It's god awful. I sat in a theater and there was a family of four, uh, a family of four watching it, right? And it was mother, father, son, and daughter. They were utterly bored. The kids were probably 9 or 10 years old. Were just playing. They just got bored. The movie's over 90, but it's like an hour 45 or something
Yeah.
like that. Is it hour four? Um,
Oh, I got to tell you, mine
it,
sitting behind me was probably a 4 or 5 year old kid. He was talking constantly throughout the movie, and I was so glad he was talking constantly throughout the movie. It made the experience so much better. And then
well,
when the gay scenes came up, I couldn't hear what he was saying, but the father was kind of talking over it, talking to his son over it, so that he wasn't necessarily being exposed to it at that time.
well, wait. So the father in the movie theater was kind of talking over to kind of like mask the scenes,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
unaware that there was gay content in a film for children.
I think
Um,
I think he was. I think he was prepared to do that. But it was the three of us. That's who was in the movie theater at that time.
I just Well, I'm going to talk about this later. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but it's a terrible movie. Not one. So I'm in a theater with like 10 people, you know, Thanksgiving night, 10 people in the theater. Not one time did the audience laugh. Not one time did they, you know, say awe in wonder, right? And this whole like look of Strange World, it was like dollar store Dr. Seuss. It was just bad. So, you know, they're obviously going for like Dr. Seuss weirdness. It's colorful, it's oddly shaped, it's a mountain, but it's a pair of walking legs. None of it made sense whatsoever. And there's a reveal at the end. I don't know if we should talk about it, I don't know if
The
anybody.
environmental message, is that what you're
The
talking about?
environmental message, which, God, is there any, I'd love to see a movie that has an anti-environmental message, or like maybe we're kind of pivoting too quickly and crippling our
Yeah.
economy and crippling the middle and lower class by making vast changes in our energy policy. It's uh yeah, like I should.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
we
no Hollywood movie's gonna like have
that's a
a
whole
message.
other podcast.
Yeah, I even hate like having a comment on stuff like that, because like I'd rather that we're
Yeah.
just talking about solid movie stuff. We're not talking about, you know, this
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
But
look,
when it happened, it's like, "Oh, there we go. We
there's the
there we go. The third, the third leg, whatever."
all I can say is this: everybody who worked on this felt like they were doing something so important. They were doing an important thing. We're not just making a movie, we're saving lives. We're saving lives. We're saving young children who are confused about their sexuality. We're saving the environment. We're talking about toxic masculinity, which this movie attacks on multiple occasions. It kind of has it both ways. It attacks it on multiple occasions, while actually Jaeger Clade was my favorite character. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, in a movie I really just didn't like anybody. He's like the manly. He was like Indiana Jones. Like, no, we're just gonna go kick ass. That's just how we do it, right? And this movie just basically, it was like it was mocking all the movies that we enjoyed that feature that kind of thing.
You're saying the most masculine character was your favorite character.
The most masculine character was my
That's
favorite
pretty
character.
misogynistic there.
Yeah, exactly. Just me
Yeah.
liking it is hate speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
People are asking about spoiling. Let's just say that the plant that provides power, well, you can almost extrapolate the environmental message with that.
Well, okay, so we can spoil it. Is the chat? Look, we're gonna give. Do we have our spoiler? We have a spoiler thing
Because it's not like yeah, it's such a weak point that was made. Is
Well, look, let's just put it up there. We're going to talk spoilers for Strange World. So the energy plant that they've been harvesting is actually could be considered a form of cancer, because the thing that they're on is a living thing. There's a scene where they go through this big chasm and go to the other side of the mountain, and they finally get far enough away to see that it's a giant eye. It's an eye the size of a skyscraper. They can't even see what this thing is, but they see a giant eye, and they're effectively some microscopic germ, is what the people are in this world, this idyllic, perfect world where everybody gets along, and the president is a woman of color, and it's like I say, it's like the script was written by a Libs of TikTok teacher. That's what this movie really is. But what you come to find out at the very end of the film is they kind of pull back, and it's a giant turtle on a planet. It doesn't really quite say that it's planet Earth.
no, the
It's
picture at
not.
the end kind of
Can you tell it's Earth? I don't know that you can
no.
tell.
I
Now,
I think ultimately that's what they were going for, but it's the idea of the planet being a living thing. The planet, the Earth, is a living thing, and that these sources of energy that we are so beholden to and dig for and drill for is killing the living planet.
right.
That's essentially the message that they're bringing across here, and that it's better to give up the modern conveniences of power and energy in order to save the planet.
Yeah, it's as cringe as it sounds. It's just as cringe as it sounds, and it's
Yeah.
so. I couldn't. I just I'm sitting there and I'm like, is anyone enjoying this? I'm not the target audience for it, but I used to take my kids to every Disney movie. I took them to see, Lion King and Aladdin, and name a Disney movie from the 90s. Took my kids. We looked forward to it.
Mhm.
And now I hate to say Disney cannot be trusted. Disney cannot be trusted with children. They cannot. And this movie is, if you need any more proof, this movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you really.
Yeah. I mean, it's this idea that they fully believe parents are wrong and don't know better, and that we're here to do to do your job basically.
Yeah, and it's horrific that people have the ego and the sort of narcissism and the hubris to feel that's their responsibility now, is to impart wisdom to your kids rather than your basic. And there's a reason that fairy tales have existed for as long as they have, because they resonate in our lizard brain. They just do. There's something about it that transcends generations, where we're telling the same stories for centuries. We've been telling the same stories. And this, what Disney's doing in pivoting so hard, they're trying to break that script, and I don't think it's resonating with audiences. Someone pointed out the box office. I guess on preview night, the movie made which was like the Tuesday, it made like $800,000.
Yeah.
It's set to underperform. And Kanto last year on Thanksgiving weekend 2021 made a little over $40 million. This is set to do like around 20. And that's the cumulative, starting of a holiday weekend, which is half of Encanto.
Yeah, but Encanto is a good movie. I think they're like Brother Bear is outperforming.
Right. Brother Bear.